So hi everybody. Maybe I introduce myself a little bit. I've been in the business for a while. I've done a lot of stuff, and I dealt with web APIs for more than I'm happy to admit. I hope you guys hear me at the end. Yeah, good. And I ended up working in Apiary, which actually deals with the web APIs or how to help to build them, design them, test them, and so on. And this talk is going to be about one part which we did, and that's a CLI tool called Dredd, which helps with the testing. First of all, what I'm not going to talk about, then I'll talk about what the API, in my view, is, how it should be, how you should work with it, verify that it works, and then I'll talk about the testing and the important part, the technical parts. So, what I'm not going to talk, and if you're interested in this, you can leave or sleep. That's the RPC style stuff, like JSON RPC, or the XML-based stuff like SOAP. Who remembers SOAP, by the way? Nice, it's good. It's good. So now, feel free to leave or sleep or whatever. So now, the important thing with the API is what it really is. It's like many people think it's like what is exposed or something, but in my view and experience, and with others as well, API is really a contract. You say, I do this, if you put this in, I'll give you this output. Or I'll do some task for you if you put the right data and so on. So basically it's a contract, right? So what's the most important thing with the contracts? Any ideas? Get everything in writing before you do anything, right? Because otherwise it's like empty promises, broken stuff, and nothing you can demand, you can sue over or whatever, right? So I think many times I've seen it in my life, I've done it in my life, is that the contract basically is written in the code, in the server code. And if the server code changes, well, it's the new contract, and that's how it works. And if you are a client, sorry, just deal with it. Right? I hope that we are beyond this, but just a question like, how many of you have done this? Like, the only way how you can see what's on the server side is look at the code. Like, I'm definitely guilty many times. Yeah. So that's the wrong way, definitely. And so how you start with dealing with these things and how you actually write such contract. And that's pick your favorite text editor, right? I hope you use Emacs as I do because that's the best one. Not trying to start another flame war though. And then there are some formats which you can use to describe the APIs, which are not in the code. It's a different thing, right? You write it down, you verify that everything works according to the contract, you publish it, and hopefully you'll make some money. So I think there are two different formats which make sense. One is the API blueprint, which is was created in Apiary, and it's very simple, markdown based. It shouldn't be really hard for you to start. And as you can see, it's based on sort of the REST style. So you have resources which map somehow to the URLs, and it helps you to describe it in a sensible way, and you can provide examples like request and response and how it looks and JSON schema, and if you use application JSON as a is a serialization. You can describe JSON schema set, or you can even write it in something which is called JSON, which is a sort of markdown way how to describe objects and structures and so on. And it will generate for you the JSON schema and so on. Then there's another one, the Open API SPEC. I don't know, how many of you heard about it? Cool. Have you used it? Very little. Okay.
There was a talk just before.
Yeah, I know. So you've seen it, but not used it. Okay. So I can skip this one, right? Or is everybody aware how it works, basically? All right, just go through it quickly. It's usually YAML, or it can be JSON. And it's keywords meaning something. You put descriptions, you put JSON schemas, you put parameters, you put all the stuff there, right? So that's how you write it. All the details, all the glory details on how the formatting works and so on, I'm going to skip because it's always hairy and complicated. One thing I would say is that the API blueprint is really more on trying to describe the stuff, being it more a documentation. And the Swagger Open API spec is more like the SOAP is. It's more machine readable. It's easier to read it programmatically, and it's really hard to read the file and then you see it. Usually I don't really understand what's going on until I really read it thoroughly a couple of times. So now you need to verify that whatever you're promising in the contract that you're really delivering, right? So how many of you actually doing it, like really testing what's in the documentation? Okay, not really many, right? And why? I think the main reason why this sort of testing doesn't really work that much, because it's really tedious, right? We'll basically create requests and you check the status code. Is it the correct one? Then you assert the headers. If the headers are missing, have this correct value and so on. Then the payload. Does it really go to the? Is it the really correct schema? All the keys are there, and so on. And you start over. Okay, there's another use case, right? When you have something incorrect and you want to different code. So you repeat this. If you have like, let's say, 5 endpoints, yeah, that's manageable, that's okay. You can do it, right? If it's 20 endpoints, good luck. My feeling is always like this, right? I want to commit suicide or just finish it, don't touch it ever. One of the things that won't help, there's a list, right? This is not going to help you to really do it. Definitely not. A part of the antipsychotics, I tried all of them and it doesn't work. Yeah, but that's why we have this tool, Dredd. That's your only hope, I think, at the moment, as far as I know. Or you can try something different, but it's always going to be tedious. Yeah. So definitely remember the links, or I guess you'll see the recording and there'll be more details. So what Dredd really is, it's open source, 100%. So you can see the code in detail, what it does, how it works, and so on. It is built in CoffeeScript, but I'm going to skip this part. You don't have to care about it, right? I didn't. I didn't really care about it because it works. It's got Python support. It's got support for other languages too. And so it's a CLI tool, easy to install, and it's very easy to start with. as long as you have written the contract in some way, like the Swagger or the API blueprint. So what's the time I should finish? 17. Cool. Good. Okay. So what it does, basically, is based on the description you gave in the contract, it will validate for you the headers. Because in both cases, you have to provide examples which are basically used as a template, like what the response should look like. So if I'm requesting this resource, I should get this code, the status code, 200, 201, whatever, 422. And then it goes through headers. If you specified any headers, it will check if they are there. For the payload, it depends, but it looks for, if you have the JSON schema there, it validates against the JSON schema automatically, so you don't have to care about it. Or it will try to sort of assert what's there, what should be there, given the example. So if it's some application JSON, it will check there. It's got the keys. Okay, and the values match. It's like, okay, this should be string. It is string. It should be number. It is number, and so on. So that saves, I would say, 90% of time spending testing. The other thing is that it's easy to install in the CIs. I don't know, in any continuous integration which runs on just Unix-based. So Jenkins, I don't know, Circle, Travis, many places. It allows you to hook into the steps. So, for example, some of the responses may have something which changes a lot. You just want to skip this check or you want to verify it in your own way, or you want to load some testing data beforehand, or you want to skip some tests based on some condition, and so on. It's got also some of the reporters. You can get the results on the command line. You can get it on the terminal. You can get it in different file formats, or you can integrate with Apiary. There's many options, and it's quite easy to get your one as well. And I think the killer feature of this whole thing is the language support. Because usually when you have such a tool, you're stuck with just the one language which is there to use as a language for plugins or hooks in this case. So Dredd supports, at the moment, supports these 5: JavaScript, Ruby, Python, PHP, and Go. And it's not that hard actually to write any new one. The support for new language is not that big deal. We have Go, which is statically, compiled, right? It still works. So it's definitely not that hard to get it there. So how the hooks in Python look? Pretty simple. To import the hooks, you have some convenient decorators which you can combine together, and you get the transaction object or a list of transaction objects, which contain all the information for whatever you need. So you get to see what was the request, how it looked, the result, the real result, the expected result, the status failed, and so on. And you can, as you can see, there's basically all the steps you can imagine are there. So it's before each test, or before just one particular test, and so on. So it's pretty easy to get started and to work with it. So that's where you can find, it's open source as well. You can find it on GitHub, Apiary.io, Dredd hooks Python. It's also in the package index, so just pip install it. No big deal. And if you try to use it ever and it doesn't work, don't call me even though I did it. Right? File an issue and somebody will take care of it. So I don't really like spending too much time talking because I think that the most important part is to put money where your mouth is and really show the real deal, how it looks, how it feels. So I'll try to do a little demo. Hope we've got like 10 minutes. Well, it should be enough. So it'll be just pretty quick, I hope, to get you running. So can you see this clearly? Increase the size font. I hope it is. Can you see it, guys, in the at the very end? Yeah. Okay. So I have a really well. Maybe I start with the description. So here I've got the application, which is called Pulse. You can submit a question, get some choices, and then do certain things with it, like submit an answer or create a new question and so on. So I'm showing it now in the API blueprint, so you see how it works. Description, a lot of text. It's free text. So and then you say, okay, the root is here, and then if you do get on the root, it returns. In the best case, it returns 200 questions and a link. And then you have the questions endpoint, which shows you what the object what the return will have as a or as attributes. It's a question, when it was published, URL, and the choices. And there's some parameters you can send over through the URI template. And ideally, this is an example of what you would get if you submit such a, or do such request. You should receive this JSON object, which is questions, choices, a list of choices. And then you have another one, which is where you can where you have the choices and you can vote on the choice. So you do post, simple post with the given parameters, and you should get this response. And then you can list the questions, all the questions, and you should get sort of this response, and you can create a new one using this. So it's a pretty simple application. I hope good enough for the demo. And so I'll start it is built in Django. It's available on GitHub as well, so you can have a look how it works. And so I hope I did all my migrations and stuff. So looks like I did. Cool. Okay. So the server is running. I might actually curl it, right? What is it? HTTP / 127 all localhost. Port. Right, I got the answer. Looks reasonable. So, and now I could curl all of them and manually test it, see is it that, is it not, and so on. But I've got Dredd, right? So I can do just Dredd. There's the document, there's the contract, which should verify that it works, and then the address again. Yeah, I've got it correct. Cool. Now we can see, goes quickly through it, verifies, and you can see on the left side that it was all the question was get the question, get, post, really tried, and it verified that it works. Well, if I run it next one more time, as you can see, one is failing. And here's the result, how it looks. If you're using just the command line, not really any of the reporters. So you see it failed, and now it shows what the request was with all the glory details, what was expected as a result, and what was the actual result. It looks like the status code with return, I was expecting 201, but I got 200. Well, it makes sense because the question was already created and I created a new one. So just return 200 OK, it's there. And it's not being created. Well, now it's time to try a little demo of the hooks. So I would like to skip this one, or better to say, check if it's 200 or 201, it's OK, and it's valid. So I've got it prepared. So yeah, got some of those prepared just to show. So there's the first one, which is showing just printing all the transaction names. So because the transaction name is how you see which of the transactions you want to really check. It's got these long names. You can either get them using. So you can either get them like this. So it's a little bit broken. I should maybe move this part a bit. Even more, yeah. So you can guide either like this or using the hooks, which is quite simple as well because it's minus language. I hope. Python. Language, right? Okay. I'll look for the short one. I hope there is a short one. Hook files A. Okay. So there is a short one. F. Okay, it started and it printed all the. Let's see, hooks handler, std out, and prints all the questions. So it really works. It was before each and it worked. That's pretty good. So now I know there is this one. And so you run this one. There's the transaction, the real one, if the status code is 200 or 201, make it 201 so it is same as in the document. And if I run it again, I hope I will see all pass again. Yes, everything's passing. So, and you can do a lot of stuff with these. It's especially useful for when you have, for example, some sensitive data in the headers, for example, the API tokens, or you want to store session cookies, or you want to store something between the calls and so on to sort of create some flows. That's where you definitely need the hooks. And I guess that's it's over. So any questions? Thank you.
Yes, we have a lot of questions at the end of the talk. So the most popular one is example API. Blueprint document seems to have a lot of duplication. For example, some results are repeated twice. Is there a way to better structure them to avoid this?
A lot of duplication. Well, it maybe seemed like it, but it was not really the same. It was slightly different. But yes, I spoke about it that in the API blueprint you can use something which is called JSON, and it's a sort of a language which allows you to describe objects in some way and reuse them in the requests, responses, and so on. And you can also compose them together, like including one in the other, and so on. So it can save you a lot of writing. So yes.
Okay, another one. Dredd seems to actually make all the requests. How about mocking the backend?
Well, find your tool. The Dredd is not really for the development really that much. It's more for verifying that what you're doing is correct. So it's for more implementation.
We have another notice to clarify backend behind the backend, SQL, etc.
Ah, okay. Clarify backend behind the backend. Well, again, that's not really Dredd's job. Dredd's job is to verify the contract. That's the API. The implementation, how you did it, and if you want to test that, that's sort of your business. And you can use hooks for checking different things. It's really up to you what you want to do. It's not really trying to be overly clever.
Okay, next one. Can you modify the blueprint so Dredd? Oh, okay. So Dredd will pass. Don't do it. That will pass with Bob.
Yes, definitely. You can. You can just give another example with the 200, and it will work. But I think in this case the hook is easier. It's like not cluttering the document that much. So.
Okay,
and I know it's a little bit. It's not really a great example, but I couldn't really find an easy one.
Okay, another one. How can Dredd actually help with endpoints not specified in documentation?
They don't exist, right? So if it's not in the documentation, it doesn't exist. Or, it's like you're guessing. So no, that's not what the Dredd is for.
Okay, and we don't have that much time, so the last one. How hard would it be to connect Dredd to Swagger API?
I'm not really sure what this question means. But yes, you can use the Swagger specification with Dredd, right? It's not really connected to API Blueprint. It supports both. I might try to show the example because I think I've got the same stuff in using the Swagger. So it doesn't really matter. I hope that now it won't crash or do something. Yeah, it looks okay, it works, and I can show you the Swagger file. So that's describing the same stuff in different words. Well, it's the same words, but different formatting, really. And it gets the same stuff there. So it works together. It doesn't really matter which one you choose.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.